Throughout this season of Lent, we have been walking with Peter. And from his being called by Jesus to last week, where we are reminded that Jesus asked the disciples, "Who do you say that I am?" And Peter responded, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And today, what Chris just read for us in our gospel story picks up right after last week finished. And so no sooner does Peter see Jesus as more than a human friend walking beside him, than Jesus comes at Peter with kind of this complete buzzkill moment. Not one of us would want to hear our friend tell us that they are about to suffer and die. But we know what that feels like, don't we? All of us have at one time or another received news that we did not want. Someone is sick, someone has died, someone has lost a job, something terrible has happened, and we just want to shout, "No, this cannot be." We want it to go away. We want to avoid the pain. We want to cling to that which is easy. That is very real and very human. And we can all understand Peter in this moment. He doesn't want to hear this about his friend Jesus. And then we get the part of the story that kind of makes us squirm a little bit. And Jesus says, "Get behind me, Satan." Now, we likely are envisioning this little red devil guy with a pitchfork or something leading us into trouble. But this line, as readers of and hearers of this story, might remind us of an earlier time in this Gospel of Matthew where Jesus is tempted in the wilderness. And we hear in this moment before Jesus' public ministry and life begins that Satan is tempting Jesus there too. Tempting Jesus to choose personal safety, tempting Jesus to choose comfort rather than this ministry and mission that we some 2,000 years later know is coming. So today, when we hear Jesus say, "Get behind me, Satan," we can connect to that story as well. Peter is pleading with Jesus to avoid the suffering and death that is to come. Come on, Jesus, let's just keep doing the good stuff. Let's just keep preaching. Let's just keep teaching. Let's heal some people. Let's hide from those bad people. Let's just do the good things. How tempting is that? Let's live a life that avoids pain. Let's live a life that avoids suffering. It's easy in this moment that we can point to Peter and say, "Peter got it wrong." It was kind of a low point for Peter. He had just had this great moment where he saw Jesus as the Christ, and now, he didn't quite get it right. But what if instead we remember that Peter is on the way to getting it right? He's kind of wandering, right? He gets it right, he kind of avoids the right because it's a little painful. He kind of wanders around a little bit. He's on the way to being the one who helps propel the church to the future. I want to invite you to look at our symbol again for today. It's that musical symbol to remember to pause, to stay with the note longer than is expected. And if you've sung in a choir, if you've played in an orchestra and choir, you can kind of correct me if I'm getting this wrong. This is the moment when you see that your eyes are on the conductor, on the director, and you wait. You wait until you're told what to do next. So you're going to hold that note, you're going to carry on until you get that next move, right? Okay, they got it right. In our gospel story this morning, we see Jesus knowing what's coming and Peter not wanting to do it. And we see Jesus saying, wait, just wait. I don't need to be tempted, Jesus is saying, to change course, to take the easy way out. Jesus invites Peter and us to wait, to carry on in the moment, to keep waiting. But Jesus doesn't just say wait. Jesus invites us and Peter to get behind him. Now, what we didn't hear today is the part of the story that comes after this text. In the next part, Jesus says, "Take up your cross and follow me." That's the very next thing Jesus says. And Jesus says to Peter with this weight, look, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be sunshine and roses, but rather it's going to be painful. So get ready, hang on, hold that note, and follow me. So we too are reminded that we are to follow Jesus, to get behind him and follow, because he's the one who shows us how to live. Now, to live like he lived means to make room for the outcast, to welcome the least of these, to speak up and to speak out on issues that matter. Now we read in our story in the Bible, Jesus does this by talking to women. He wasn't supposed to do that. He heals those who are sick. He wasn't supposed to be near them. He hangs out with tax collectors. They were the worst of the worst. Today, what that looks like is different for us. But we are still invited to live like that. To welcome the outcast, to make room for the least of these, to speak out on issues that matter. When Jesus tells Peter and us to get behind him, it's tempting to get sucked into the gloom and doom and say, no, I don't want to. Peter's trying to avoid this, and we can't really blame him. But that's not all that Jesus pointed to. Did you hear the glimpse at Easter that Jesus mentioned? Jesus said in the midst of saying, I'm going to suffer and die, I will rise on the third day. It's a little bit of foreshadowing, telling us, the reader, what's to come. Past the Good Friday story, past the suffering and dying part. Look at this symbol again. The fermata also looks like an empty tomb. Friends, we are invited to the whole story. Not just the moments where Peter gets it right, not just the moments where Peter gets it wrong, not just the moments of suffering and death. We are also invited to the moments of new life. We're invited to all of it. Because isn't that life? Life is hard. And life is joy. Life is Good Friday, and life is Easter. But we remember who it is we follow, and we follow Jesus. And in so doing, we remember that we are not alone. Our wandering hearts go through this life following Jesus. But as we remember, as we put our symbols on these hearts, we are not alone. We wander together. We wander through this life following Jesus together. And for that we say thanks be to God. Amen.